Hi everyone, so this video is about pole work for dressage, and pole work for dressage can be quite similar for poles for show jumping, but I like to use them quite a lot during my schooling to help improve various transitions and expression and to help the horses to work more over their backs and to use their hind legs better. So this is Rocky, who, as you'll probably know by now, is 4 rising 5. And the first thing I do with any horse is I tend to just walk them over the poles to kind of show them what it is they're going to be doing, because I like horses to be really confident with what they're doing. And then once I've decided that they aren't going to spook at them or they're not scared of them and they feel happy and confident, I then start taking them through them in the trot. This exercise, I've designed it to help downward transitions and upward transitions. So what I'm going to be riding here with Rocky is a 20-metre circle at sea with a trot-walk-trot transition over the centre line. And as a trainee judge and a rider, what I see a lot of is people don't show clear walk steps during trot-walk-trot transitions. So this can be a really useful exercise, A, to make you really accurate where you ride it, but B, to make sure you get a definite, clear, rhythmical walk. So you can see, just by having the poles there, it's forcing me to ride the downward transition before the centre line, get a clear walk, and then I'm able to ride a clear trot transition afterwards. So same as anything, I repeat it on both reins. And Rocky is not as balanced this way, and what you'll see that he likes to do as I'm asking for the walk is he gets a little bit strong, a little bit tight in my hand. So here you can almost see him wanting to maintain the trot into the poles. That one was much better because I felt that the first one he was getting quite strong and not listening to my half halt. So I decided to start asking for it a little bit earlier. So it really set me up to knowing how soon I needed to start asking for the balance and the half halt ready for the downward transition. Once you have got the work just over the centre poles, I then start to add in more poles. So I've got just 3 poles laid out, which are actually canter poles by sea, so you can canter through them, but you can also trot through them. So they're spaced out so that the horse can get 2 clear steps between the poles. And I like to really, with pole work, I like to gradually build up the exercises and not just overphase them with everything in one go. So it's literally just little stage after little stage. So there I'm still using the 3 poles, and I start to actually ask him to trot through this top end triangle. And you can see he lost his rhythm a little bit there, but it really doesn't matter. I couldn't give a toss that he loses balance and loses rhythm. It can just be that the horse doesn't come at it quite on the right stride. It can also be that they're just not particularly balanced, but it's a case of really finding the correct rhythm. So here, I'm just experimenting a little bit with the rhythm and the angles that I'm coming at the poles to make them feel better. So that time, the 3 poles up there were a lot better, and you really want to feel as you go through the poles that nothing changes. The contact doesn't change, the way that the horse feels underneath you doesn't change, the rhythm doesn't change. So the whole idea with pole work is you should feel like absolutely nothing changes. You shouldn't have to do anything different as you go over poles. So it really is a case of you just need to keep repeating and doing lots of little half halts and loads of gives down the reins. So I want him to feel, see there on the last pole, he actually went down a little bit softer with his neck and didn't come against me quite so much. And that is what I'm looking to feel here with this walk transition. And I know it's going to be a work in progress. You can see he gets a little bit tight in the transition up to the trot as well. And it really is a case of just keep repeating it. And you can see I'm gradually starting to ask for it earlier because I think, okay, this rein, I need to give him a little bit more time to think about what it is I'm asking him to do. He needs a bit more time to sort his balance out. I also, if I'm being a bit judgmental with my own riding, I'm probably being a little bit tight with my right shoulder and I'm not turning my body quite as well this way. So that is one reason why I always say to loads of my customers how important it is to film yourself riding. Okay, you might look at yourself and cringe. I do quite regularly, but it can be really useful because here I was sure that I was turning my right shoulder enough, but I don't know if you can see it. I am just blocking slightly with it. I'm not turning it as well as my left shoulder. So that will be something for me to take note of for the future so that I can help the horse better. And it's one of those, don't beat yourself up as a rider. We've all got things that we need to work on. The Carls and Charlottes of the world have got things that probably nag at them that they think they need to work on constantly. So we're moving on now to a more advanced horse, which is my own Carmen, who is rising 8. And you'll see I'm starting off with her exactly the same way that I did with Rocky, is I'm just walking her through the poles and showing her the way a little bit. And this is where I'm going to add a little footnote. Carmen is really not talented when it comes to poles. It's taken me years to get her to the point where she doesn't fling her legs in all directions rather than actually just staying consistent. So what you'll see with her is that her front legs tend to get rather over the top, and then she forgets that she's got back legs. And I've always said poles highlight the issues that a horse and rider have got. So whatever issues you've got on the flat, your poles will really exaggerate it, which can be a little bit frustrating, but it can also be really interesting in that, say, one way, if you don't have quite so much bend, you'll notice it on the poles because you'll really feel your horse falling in. Or if the other way you're getting way too much bend, you'll feel the horse wants to fall out through the poles. You'll notice that I'm starting off slightly differently with Carmen to Rocky, and that I'm just trotting straight through them. I'm very happy with her trot to walks, so I didn't feel the need to really work on those. But one thing that Carmen has struggled with, and I have struggled with her, is canter-trot-canter transitions. So I'm going to gradually build up to doing those. And I'm just repeating the poles a little bit because she's one of those, she's really difficult because you can't have her going through poles too quickly, because looking at this, I'd probably want her to be a little bit more forwards. But the feel that I get from on top is as soon as I push her too quickly through them, she then starts to fling her front legs about and forget she's got back legs. So for me, the whole point of the poles with her is to try and get her a little bit more aware of her hind legs. And you will see she is gradually starting to get a bit more engaged. She's starting to step a bit more underneath her body. And even there, like, yes, her front legs got over the top, but you'll see that as she's cantering through them, she is trying to get a bigger canter stride behind. So the inside hind leg is the hind leg we should be really focusing on. And that is the hind leg that I'm trying to get to step under a little bit more. And you can see that as the inside hind leg gets more active, that the canter stride gets better, and that your trot transitions get better, and your canter to trot get better. So it really is just a case, just keep playing with it. And occasionally I'll canter straight through the poles, occasionally I'll ask for the trot, because I don't want her to start backing off and anticipating what it is I'm going to ask for. So we've just changed the rein. And you'll see I'm doing exactly the same thing as I'm just trotting her through it, just making sure she's staying soft. I'm assessing what her balance feels like. Is she bending too much? Is she over bending? Is she wanting to fall in? Is she wanting to fall out? So I'm just playing and seeing what it is she's giving me. Now, normally, what I feel on this rein is she always wants to fall out through her shoulder. So I've been working a little bit on trying to straighten her up. And what I found was that in actual fact, I've probably been straightening her up too much this way. So I'm finding that she's wanting to lean against my right leg a little bit. And there, I'm really finding it difficult to push her more into my outside rein and get her to take the weight more to the outside of her body so that she accepts my half holds and lets me kind of plan the downward transition. The other thing you'll probably notice is I'm coming slightly out of the saddle when I'm going through the poles in canter, and that is because I'm feeling that she's really dropping her back on me and not wanting to lift and use her back. So a good little tip is just take your bum out the saddle and take the weight off their backs, and it can really encourage them to use themselves better. So here, gradually, I am slowly but surely making improvements with that downward transition to trot, in that I'm just asking for a little bit sooner. She's accepting my leg better, and therefore the trot is going better through the poles, and my canter transition after the poles is improving. So I'm still not perfectly happy with the way that she's doing those 3 poles, but it's early days yet. As I said, it's been a constant battle with Madam to get her to not get over exuberant through poles. But I was really pleased with her on this day, and I felt that she let go beautifully in the end, and she concentrated and she tried really hard. Anyway, that's the end of the video, and I hope you enjoyed it and you've got some ideas to help spice up your schooling sessions to make them more interesting for you and your horse.